Greetings, fellow time travelers. Welcome back to Treasures of History, where we uncover the hidden mysteries of lost civilizations and dive deep into the secrets that shaped our world. I'm your archaeological guide, ready to take you on another mind-bending journey through the corridors of time. Today's discovery will absolutely blow your mind. We're about to unveil the incredible story of Petra, a city literally carved into mountains, hidden in the Jordanian desert for centuries. But here's what will shock you. This wasn't just any ancient city. The Nabataeans created an architectural masterpiece so advanced that it challenges everything we know about ancient engineering. Before we unveil these incredible treasures, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss the ancient mysteries we're about to reveal. Picture this scene with me. We're standing in the Jordanian desert millions of years ago. This isn't just any desert landscape. This is a geological masterpiece in the making. Imagine vast valleys and sandy slopes stretching as far as the eye can see. But here's where it gets fascinating. Winding through these mountains are narrow passages called Wadis, natural corridors carved by the relentless power of water erosion over countless millennia. Now, pay attention to this incredible geological formation. Among all the Wadis in Petra, there's one that stands out. The legendary Sikh. But here's the mind-blowing part. Unlike other wadis formed by water erosion, the Sikh was created by massive tectonic forces that literally split the mountain apart. During the rainy season, something amazing happened. Water from the surrounding areas rushed through these wadis, cascading down the cliffs and collecting in a basin nestled right in the middle of the rocky formations. Thousands of years of rainwater flowing through this landscape sculpted the perfect setting for one of history's most remarkable civilizations. Now let's travel back to the 6th century before Christ. Here's where our story truly begins, with a mysterious nomadic people called the Nabataeans. But who were these desert wanderers? The Nabataeans were brilliant traders who roamed the vast deserts of the Arabian Peninsula. Their secret weapon? An unmatched knowledge of the desert's hidden routes and life-saving water sources. Here's what made them extraordinary. Little by little, these shrewd merchants gained control of the most valuable commodity in the ancient world, the trade routes themselves. This strategic mastery gave them power over the entire region. Then came a pivotal decision that would change history forever. The Nabataeans chose to abandon their nomadic lifestyle and settle in a basin west of the Sikh. But there was a problem. This territory belonged to the Edomites. What happened next? The Nabataeans drove them out and claimed this geological wonder as their own. They named their new city Rakhmu, though history would remember it by its Greek name, Petra, meaning rock. And believe me, this name couldn't be more perfect for what we're about to discover. Now, here's where things get absolutely incredible. The Nabataeans didn't just build their city, they literally carved it from the living rock. Imagine this revolutionary technique. Instead of quarrying stone blocks and hauling them to construction sites, the Nabataeans did something genius. As they extracted sandstone from the cliffs, they simultaneously carved elaborate tomb facades right into the rock face. At first, these tombs were simple, but watch how they evolved into architectural masterpieces. The city itself grew around a seasonal river that stayed dry most of the year, only flowing during the rainy season. The Nabataeans engineered a sophisticated channel system to manage this precious water resource. The main street of the city ran parallel to this channel, a testament, really, to their advanced urban planning. But here's a fascinating cultural connection. Ancient traditions linked Petra to the biblical book of Exodus. This wadi became known as Wadi Musa, the Valley of Moses, because legend says this is where Moses struck the rock and brought forth water to save his people. By the 5th century before Christ, something remarkable happened. The Nabataeans established themselves as a powerful kingdom, and from their capital at Petra they controlled the region like an oasis in the heart of the desert. Pay attention to this brilliant business model. Petra became an essential stopover for traders traveling between Africa and the Near East. Every caravan that passed through Nabataean territory had to pay tolls and taxes. This wasn't just profitable, it made Petra fabulously wealthy. But with great wealth comes great danger. As the prosperous capital of a thriving kingdom, Petra became a military target for neighboring powers. The solution? Fortification. Here's what's amazing. Fortifying Petra wasn't as difficult as you might think. The high mountains form natural barriers to the east and west, so they only needed walls on the north and south sides. The Wadi Musa could have been a weak point from the west, but beyond a certain point, it became completely impassable. This left only one viable entrance, the Sikh. Now we come to the greatest challenge facing this desert capital: water. Or rather, two opposite problems with water: its scarcity during dry periods and its dangerous abundance during the rainy season. Here's the critical problem. During heavy rains, all the water concentrated in the Sikh and rushed violently toward the city. One flash flood could destroy everything. So what did these brilliant engineers do? They built a dam at the entrance to the Sikh and carved a tunnel through the mountain itself to divert the water around the city. This kept the main approach dry and safe. But wait, there's more genius here. This diversion system didn't just solve the flooding problem. The Nabataeans integrated clay pipes into the mountain walls, channeling water to cisterns throughout the city. This ensured a steady water supply for the population even during the driest months. This hydraulic engineering was so advanced that it wouldn't be matched for centuries. The Nabataeans had literally conquered the desert. As time passed, Petra began developing a unique architectural style that would become its signature. Let me walk you through this fascinating evolution, because each style tells a story of cultural growth and artistic innovation. First style, the simple pylon tomb. At the top, there's a stepped cornice with crenellations. Simple, yet elegant. This was the foundation. Second style, the double pylon. Here's where it gets more elaborate. A second row of crenellations appears, creating a pyramidal form at top and bottom. The complexity is increasing. Third style, the step tomb. This cornice features a wider extension with opposing steps rising above it. Watch how the Nabataeans are experimenting and evolving. Fourth style, proto-Hegra. Now we're seeing something revolutionary. With cultural exchange across the Mediterranean, Hellenistic elements appear, pediments and columns, but with distinctly Nabataean capitals. East meets west, in stone. Fifth style, the Hegra type, named after the second most important Nabataean urban centre, this style features a sloping roof and double cornice. The sophistication is remarkable. Sixth style, the simple classical tomb class. Classical elements are now emphasized and the entire structure is crowned with a pediment. The fusion of cultures is complete. This area at the exit of the Sikh gradually filled with these magnificent tombs. Today we call it the Street of Facades, an entire boulevard of eternal monuments carved into living rock. During this century, something earth-shattering was happening in the wider world. The Macedonian kingdom reached its maximum expansion under Alexander the Great. But here's what's remarkable. Even mighty Alexander didn't extend his influence to Petra. After Alexander's death in 323 before Christ, his empire was divided among his generals. Antigonus Monophthalmus seized Asia Minor, and in 312 before Christ he attempted to conquer Petra. What happened next? He failed. The Nabataeans successfully defended their rock city against one of Alexander's most powerful successors. Petra remained unconquered. Now let's explore something truly mystical about Nabataean religion. Unlike many ancient peoples who created elaborate statues of their gods, the Nabataeans did something completely different. They carved massive stone blocks called beetles, sacred monuments representing the presence of a deity. These weren't images of gods, but the gods themselves made manifest in stone. To see one of the most famous beetles, we must journey through the Sikh, the passage to the city. Here, in the 1st century of the Common Era, a beetle was carved known as the Jinn block tombs. Now, here's an interesting historical note. Jinn are spirits from pre-Islamic Arabian folklore. However, identifying these blocks with jinn came much later, long after the Nabataeans disappeared as a culture. That's why they're also called the God blocks. As you travel through the Sikh, you'll see it's punctuated by other similar blocks, though smaller. Each one marks a sacred presence, a divine guardian watching over those who enter the city. Throughout this period, the Nabataeans prioritized expanding their influence and formalizing their power structure. The first recorded king was Aretas I, who ruled from 168 before Christ. This king is mentioned in the 2nd book of Maccabees as an Arabian ruler, our first historical confirmation of Nabataean royalty. But now, prepare yourself for something that will send chills down your spine. High in the mountains south of the city, dating to approximately this century, there's a sacred site that reveals the darker side of ancient religion. Carved into the mountain peak are a pair of sacrificial altars. Some inscriptions show that in the early stages these were used for human sacrifice. Yes, you heard that right. Human beings were sacrificed to the gods on these very altars. Near these altars, the mountain peak itself was carved away, leaving only 2 beetles shaped like pyramids, representing divine presence at this sacred high place. Standing here, the ancient priests could look down upon the entire city while performing their sacred and sometimes terrible rituals. The prosperity of the Nabataeans was becoming a burden to other states in the region, who had to pay tolls and endure the conditions imposed by the Nabataeans on the trade routes. Around 100 before Christ, the Hasmoneans attacked the Nabataean kingdom, which was ruled by Aretas II. This war was inherited by Obodas I, who managed to put an end to this aggression in 93 before Christ. But the threats didn't stop. Around 87 before Christ, the Seleucid king Antiochus X began raids to conquer the Nabataean kingdom. Now pay attention to this incredible turn of events. In 85 before Christ, Antiochus was defeated by Obodas I. But here's the tragic twist. Obodas also died in battle. However, the Seleucid forces were successfully repelled. And here's what's absolutely remarkable. Obodas I was deified by the Nabataeans. A mortal king became a god because of his heroic sacrifice. Remember this? It will be important later. Aretas III then continued as king, and under his rule the Nabataean kingdom reached its maximum expansion. He even briefly occupied Damascus. The Nabataeans were now a regional superpower, but his territorial ambitions were frustrated by Pompey and his Roman legions. The Romans allowed him to continue ruling Damascus, but with one critical condition: he had to pay tribute to Rome. The Nabataeans had become a client state of the mighty Roman Empire. Now, let's visit one of Petra's most impressive geographical features. Mount Bileara rises on the western edge of the city. It's the highest mountain in Petra. By this century, new tombs were carved into the eastern slope of this mountain. But here's what's truly extraordinary. At the top of Mount Bileara, a palace was built, likely for elite families of the city. Some scholars even believe it may have been for the king himself. Picture this. Here, protected by height and surrounded by breathtaking views, the Nabataean ruler could gaze upon the magnificence of his city spread out below. What a view that must have been! The success of the Nabataeans didn't sit well with their neighbours. The Greek historian Diodorus described them as plunderers and pirates. And you know what? While they had become a great society, it's believed these very practices initially put them at the top of the region's commercial scene. Sometimes history's greatest civilizations have rough beginnings. By 50 before Christ, the Sikh was paved, creating a grand street approach at the level of the large Wadi leading to it. The entrance to Petra was becoming more magnificent with each passing decade. Then, in 9 before Christ, Aretas IV ascended to the Nabataean throne.